So let's talk about a question I get asked all the time. So are you just selling products on Amazon, or are you building a brand that buyers will pay a premium for? The buyers, meaning the people who buy your business, the aggregators, institutional investors, or mom and pop investors, right? It's a one thing to hustle your way to decent monthly profits on Amazon by sourcing products and slapping on a private label. It's another thing entirely to build an actual brand, something with real staying power, high quality reputation, and a community of loyal customers. And here's the kicker. Building a brand rather than just selling stuff online is what truly positions you for a high value exit. So in this video, we're going to walk through how to shift your Amazon business from being product centric to genuinely brand led. We're also going to talk about what potential buyers look for when valuing an Amazon business, how you can maximize that valuation, and when it might be the right time to sell or not. So by the end of this, you'll have a roadmap on how to make your Amazon business more appealing and more profitable, whether you're aiming to exit soon or just scale to the next level. Now, before we dive in, a quick note on our own experience. I am an Amazon seller myself with over $20 million sold on Amazon, and at our agency, we've managed multiple 6, 7 to even 8-figure Amazon brands. And we've been in a few rounds of negotiations of buying and selling. We've also seen up close what happens during M&A for Amazon sellers, and we know exactly what gets a buyer's attention. So as we go along, I'll throw in some cautionary tales and success stories we've witnessed, nothing too heavy, but just enough to show you how it really pays off by shifting your mindset from Amazon seller to Amazon brand builder. So let's get started. So first thing first, what does it mean to be a seller versus a brand? So it might sound like a silly distinction, because after all, you're selling products on Amazon either way, right? But in the eyes of buyers, investors, and especially M&A teams, there's a world of difference. A basic seller might have a handful of products doing decently well in certain categories. And their listing might rank okay, but they've gamed the algorithm or found a quick gap in the market. But the big question is, if that seller left the business tomorrow, or if Amazon changes the rules, would the entire operation come crashing down? If the answer is yes, that's not super appealing to potential buyers. So a brand, on the other hand, has a clear identity, a consistent story, and a set of intangible assets that go beyond just product listings. We're talking about community engagement, proprietary products or packaging, brand-specific marketing materials, and a presence that might even stretch beyond Amazon onto social media, a dedicated website, email lists, or other marketplaces. This brand appeal is exactly what M&A folks love to see, because it suggests long-term stability. A brand can survive policy shifts, changing trends, and even competitor knockoffs more easily than a one-product wonder can. And intangible assets, things like your brand reputation, your design or utility pattern, your customer loyalty, these are the things that can significantly bump up your valuation. So it's not just about how many units you move per month, it's about the resilience of your business in a volatile environment. Now, let's pivot to the meat of this. How do we build a real brand on Amazon? There are a few key components I really recommend focusing on. First up is genuine product differentiation. You can't just source a generic product from a factory, slap your label on, and call it a brand. Well, I guess you could, but that's not the best way to impress a buyer or aggregator when the time comes to sell an Amazon business. One of our clients had initially sourced the standard athletic water bottle. They did fine, but after about 6 months, the marketplace was flooded with identical bottles at lower prices. That's when they pivoted. They developed a custom lid that addressed a common leak issue. They also filed a utility patent and revamped their packaging with a strong brand aesthetics. So boom, overnight, they went from being a seller of water bottles to recognize the brand in that niche. So by the time they entertained offers, that IP was a massive part of their story, and their final valuation skyrocketed. So if you're stuck with a Me Too product, think about ways to infuse a unique angle, whether it's a design, a functionality, or an exclusive licensing deal that no competitor can copy. Next up is the brand registry. So if you're not enrolled in Amazon's brand registry, that's priority number one. And not only helps protect your brand from hijackers, but also unlocks tools like A+ content, a branded storefront, and access to Amazon's brand analytics. So if you're serious about brand building on Amazon, brand registry is pretty much non-negotiable. A+ content, that is the extra spice on your product detail page. Imagery, comparison charts like brand story modules, it helps you to stand out visually while telling a coherent brand narrative. And the branded storefront, well, think of this as your own mini e-commerce site within Amazon. You can group products by category, showcase bestsellers, and keep a cohesive brand aesthetics. And the brand analytics, this provides valuable insights into search frequency, customer behavior, competitor performance. And if you want to move beyond guesswork, These metrics are a gold mine for data-driven decision making. Another major difference between run-of-the-mill seller and actual brand is how they communicate. Everything from your product listing to your packaging inserts to your post-purchase emails, they all should convey a consistent brand voice. So if you're targeting a premium market, your packaging shouldn't look cheap. So if your brand is playful and quirky, your listing and email should also have that tone. So consistency here, that builds trust and loyalty, which are the two elements that absolutely matter when it comes to valuation. Additionally, pay attention to those first few weeks after a customer gets your product. Quick follow-up messages, helpful tips, and even a personal note from the founder. All those things can be the difference between someone who buys once versus someone who becomes a lifelong fan. So that sense of community and loyalty is intangible, yet unbelievably powerful from an M&A standpoint. Then we're going to talk about off-Amazon presence. So speaking of intangible assets, having a presence beyond Amazon can really seal the deal. Buyers worry about Amazon policy changes, competitor black hat tactics, or even random suspensions. So if you can show you're not fully reliant on the Amazon ecosystem, your risk profile decreases big time. Think about a simple Shopify or WooCommerce site, or at least a splash page that captures emails. Get on social media like Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, whatever makes sense for your market. If you're aiming for bigger deals or negotiations, having a legitimate email list or a following on social media channel can tip the scale in your favor. So it signals that your brand can grow outside Amazon's walled garden, which reduces risk for the buyers. Alright, so let's say you've done the work to become a brand, not just a seller. How do you now make sure you're in prime position for a profitable exit? So here's where focusing on financials, growth trajectories, diversifications, and operational systems come in. Buyers love clean, transparent records. That means diligently tracking your COGS, your Amazon PPC spend, your net profit, and your inventory turnover. It might sound dull, like the skincare equivalent of reading the ingredient list on your face wash, but it's essential. Think about how real estate investors want an inspection before buying a house. M&A team want the same kind of clarity. The more streamlined your accounting is, the less friction you'll have during due diligence, making it easy for a buyer to see your monthly profits, your exact ad spend, and your operating margins, and you'll stand out from the crowd. And your listing, your business listing, definitely going to be more appealing to the potential buyers. Now the growth trajectory. A buyer wants to see that your brand isn't just a flash in the pan. So be prepared to show at least 12 to 22 months of consistent or upward trending sales data. So ideally, you also have plans in place for new product launches or expansions. That future potential is like rocket fuel for valuation. One thing we see quite often is brand owners who are tapped out. Maybe they have limited cash flow for new products, or they're juggling other projects. But if you can demonstrate that there is a clear path for expansion into, say, another product line, or you're about into a new Amazon region, buyers will look at that as a big upside. And the next thing on the list is diversification. So when we say diversification, we're talking about mainly three things. First is going to be the product line diversification. Don't rely on a single or a couple of hero SKUs. Then the channel diversification. Are you selling on Walmart or your own Shopify store in addition to Amazon, right? Then the geographic diversification. Maybe you've tested the water in Amazon's European marketplaces or even a brick and mortar store relationship. So diversification is a big plus because it lowers your operational risk. It shows that if one product gets attacked by a knockoffs, or if one market goes through a weird slump, you're not just out of luck. Finally, you need processes, which is the standard operation procedures, SOPs, that allows the business to run without your day-to-day presence. This might sound bureaucratic, but it honestly makes a huge difference. Potential buyers will ask themselves, if we acquire this brand, can we easily plug it into our existing operations? Or will everything crumble if the original founder disappears, right? From inventory management to customer service templates, from Amazon PPC strategies to supply chain logistics, document all of it. You gotta document all of it. The easier you make that handover, the more confidence the buyer has and the higher they're willing to pay. Simple as that. So by this point, you might be thinking, all right, that's all great, but when do I actually sell? And who do I sell to, right? Let's break it down. First, when to sell. It's actually not just about your business maturity, though it's a key factor, right? It's actually also about market conditions. Are aggregators still on a buying spree, right? Are interest rates favoring big investments in e-commerce brands? Are you personally ready to move on from day-to-day involvement? Sometimes we've seen entrepreneurs hold out for just a bit too long, hoping for a bigger multiple, only to watch market conditions cool down. And that happened quite a lot over the past couple of years. Take the truck driver's face scenario from the earlier skincare analogies. Like some damage creeps up slowly, and you might not notice the daily incremental changes, but it adds up. In the same way, business performance can shift gradually over time. So you gotta pay attention so you don't miss the ideal window. Now, who do you work with? You've got a few options. You can work with brokers or direct buyers or aggregators. Brokers can help you find potential buyers and then guide you through the negotiation process, but they usually take a commission. People like Empire Flippers and Acquire Light, they both are very established and very connected brokers in the industry. Then the direct buyers. They might be strategic investors or even a competitor looking to acquire your brand. So basically, the hardest part of that is to have the direct buyers approach you, right? Then there is also the aggregators. They are those companies that have popped up in the last few years, rolling up multiple Amazon brands under one umbrella. They can be a great fit if your brand is a plug and play, but you want to carefully evaluate their terms and timeline. None of these options is universally best. The right route depends on your goals, your timeline, and your brand's market niche. We've seen brand owners who waited too long because they kept expecting their valuation multiple to climb. Then a competitor came in, took some market share, and their once great numbers dipped. By the time they finally listed the brand, it wasn't nearly as attractive, and so they sold for much less than they could have in a year earlier. And also on the flip side, we've also watched owners who sold too early, right as their brand was about to go viral with a new product. I mean, just basically there's no way to time the market perfectly, but do your best to consider both your personal objectives and the industry's cycle. Now that you have a sense of how to go from seller to brand and how to prepare for an exit, let's quickly sum up the top tips we've covered here. Well, first is focus on brand narrative. Develop a clear brand identity across all listings, packaging, and customer touchpoints. Number 2, keep immaculate financial records. So buyers want to see transparent, well-organized data on profits, sales, and ad spend, and etc. Number 3, diversify, right? Multiple SKUs, multiple channels, multiple markets. That's how you lower risk and boost attractiveness. Number 4, document your processes. Create SOPs that make the business easy to run, even without you at the wheel. Number 5, pick your time wisely. Like monitor market conditions, know your personal life goals, and make a strategic plan for your exit. So it might feel daunting to check every box at this list. And I mean, honestly, brand building is a longer, more demanding route than simply selling products. But if you do it right, you'll end up with a more stable, more profitable, and a more sellable business. We see it all the time from our experience scaling and exiting e-commerce brands. A cohesive brand with intangible assets is light years ahead in valuation compared to random product lines with little brand identity. So that's everything of this video. I hope you found this helpful. If you did, feel free to subscribe, leave a comment or question below, and check out our website for more resources on scaling and exiting your Amazon business. We've got plenty of insights from our own hands-on experience with 6, 7, and 8-figure brands, from advanced PPC strategies to real-life exit case studies. But even if you don't do any of that, I hope you walk away knowing exactly why brand identity matters so much on Amazon and how you can leverage it for a more profitable, more future-proof business. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.